Welcome to City Life. I'm Beverly Thompson. The results are in. Residents love living and working in Durham. Joining me to talk about the good results and the work in progress results of the 2013 Resident Satisfaction Survey, as well as the plan to make those results even better, is City Manager Tom Bonfield. Tom, thank you for joining me today.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Tom, get us started with this explanation of the Citizen Satisfaction Survey and why we do it every year. Why is it so important?
Well, the city has been conducting a resident satisfaction survey since 2005, and we do it every other year, usually in the fall. And it is important for a number of reasons. One, it is just another way that the city reaches out to listen to the residents of Durham. But more importantly, it's a way for us to get feedback on how we are doing, how the residents of Durham feel about the community. Do they feel that we're heading in the right direction? How satisfied they are with city services? Where areas that we need to improve. And then most importantly, because we do the survey every other year, it allows us to track progress. So it's not just that how we're doing, but are we improving? How do we compare to what the residents thought about in 2005 compared to now?
I know two big overall questions we ask are how residents like living and working in Durham. Why is this so important, and what were the 2013 results
Sure.
like?
Well, of course it's important because we want people to love their community, like like everything about their community, whether it's where they live, where they work. It's not just about city services, but it's about their overall feeling of the community. That's very, very important. And we had really great results again this year. I think about 81% of the residents in the community provided positive results about Durham as a place to live. Maybe in the high 70s, 77, 78% of the residents felt the same way about Durham as a place to work.
Wow.
These are great results and a very positive feedback for us.
Those are very high results. Man,
very pleased.
Yeah, that's great. Tell us, what do you think overall about the survey results? I mean, were you pleased? Do you feel like the city overall is moving in a great direction?
We do, and that was another survey question, as a matter of fact. Do you feel like that Durham is moving in the right direction? Again, we had very, very positive results from the residents. So what's really important too is that the city doesn't just conduct a survey. We hire a professional survey company out of the Midwest who does this for over 700 cities in the United States, and they make sure that we have statistically valid results, that it reaches all demographics of the community, that it reaches a broad and diverse geographic reach within the community, and it's just great feedback that that we can year after year understand how we did. One of the great results of this year's survey is that the consultant who conducted the work, when they presented their findings, told us that the city of Durham, of all of the cities that they work with, over 200,000 population, has had the most substantial improvement across the board of any community they work with since 2005, which is a great reflection on our community, great reflection on our employees.
Okay, we've talked about the good results. What are some of the results that you think, as the resident satisfaction survey indicated, that need improvement?
So again, this is listening to what the feedback tells us. And again, this year, we heard from our residents that a very high priority is the flow of traffic in Durham and the condition of our streets. Also, the residents told us that they want us to continue to have a high priority for public safety, in particular police protection. They want us to continue to be sure that police services are meeting the needs of the community. And they aren't necessarily surprising results, because I think they have been fairly consistent over the years, but it is still as important feedback that we understand what are the priorities, what are the things that concern our residents most.
Okay, well, speaking of priorities then, is this something that you and City Council take into account in developing the budget? I know this is budget time.
Certainly is, and one of the things we make sure we do is that we present these results to the council. We understand, or we try to understand, what are the areas that we can move the budget to meet these needs. And as a matter of fact, when we conducted this survey a couple of years ago, the conditions of streets were such a high priority that actually led the council to begin the initiative of the 2010 bond issue that ultimately resulted in a $20 million bond issue and some 200 miles of roads being paved. So I was going to say about the street resurfacing, one of the good things, even though the priority is still there, I think we've improved like 30-something percentage points in the last several years. So we're definitely getting better, but the residents still say, Pave my streets.
They want us to focus on it, huh?
Correct.
Still focus on it. Residents also cited some unhappiness with parks, and I know with the discussion with the penny for parks, how will this play into the overall discussion?
Well, again, I think that it was good feedback. You know, sometimes when we have public hearings or some of the PAC meetings where we go out with coffees with council, many times there are 3 or 4 or 5 people who are very, passionate about an issue that show up. And, if you hear the same people over and over again, you kind of get the impression that, oh, well, that must be a priority, but you don't always really know if that's a priority. The resident satisfaction survey tells us it's a priority. Again, it's a statistically valid process, and one of the resounding themes of what we heard from the residents were, we want improved parks, we want better maintained parks. We think that open space and trails should be a priority for our community. So that wasn't just a couple of people who happened to hijack the survey. This is a random process, and there again, the feedback is very, very valuable as we shape the budget process.
Okay. Well, let's talk a little more about streets then. It was up considerably, but still people are, wanting to see more focus in that area. How will you use that information to decide if you're going to allocate more money to streets or keep it the same and keep working at a steady pace?
Right. Well, I mean, for the most part, the council and through our financial plan, we've already recognized the need for increased funding for street paving and traffic management. That was very clear for the last couple of years. We made the commitment that we were going to continue to build the proper revenues and resources within the budget process to take care of our streets so that we don't constantly have to have bond issues to pave roads. That is continuing. We just recently completed the most recent pavement condition index evaluation. Hasn't been released to the public yet, but it will be in the next month or so. That's going to tell us the kind of progress that we really have made. It's not just about perception. This is a very technical process that will go in and evaluate the conditions of streets. But at the same time, one of the other things we know is that a good many of the streets in Durham are North Carolina Department of Transportation roadways. The city has no authority over them, has no opportunity or obligation to pave them. And yet they're actually the streets that most residents drive on most frequently. And so residents have a difficult time sometimes distinguishing between what's a city street, what's a state street. They just know that street has potholes in it and typically look for the city to fix it. And I think sometimes that's some of the challenges we have with the feedback we get. Is it really a city street that they're concerned about? Because we think we're doing a pretty good job.
Well, do you think there's any way residents could let the DOT know that they have dissatisfaction with some of the state streets?
Certainly. I mean, there's many opportunities, whether it's through our local delegation, our representatives, at the General Assembly. I'm sure they would like to hear that. I think that opportunities to communicate with the Department of Transportation through email or letters. Also, I mean, it's in any respect, it's not that the state doesn't know it. The state, has resource allocation issues like the rest of us, and I don't think they're necessarily ignoring Durham. But we also know that many of the worst conditioned streets in the city are actually state roads and not local roads.
Important message there. Well, just looking back over the entire survey, was there anything that was surprising or disappointing to you?
No, I mean, I think that we felt again like we've really made some tremendous progress in the street paving area, and so I think I would have liked to have seen a little more recognition of that in the results. But again, it's one of those things that we understand that people tend to think about the things that give us feedback about the things that affect them most on a daily basis. And when for example, the garbage service, solid waste collection service, was one of the highest rated services that we received. It was like almost 98% of the residents were satisfied, which is great.
Wonderful.
But it's one of those things. The garbage gets picked up every day. You put it, every week, and you put it out, and nothing, move on. But when you drive over that pothole every day on the way to work, you remember it.
You remember it,
and then we hear about it.
Yeah. I know a huge focus for you as during your tenure as city manager was a culture of service among employees. And the numbers showed some really good statistics about how happy residents are with our customer service.
And I'm really glad you said that, because while that didn't surprise me, because I live it every day with our employees, because we have some fantastic employees and committed employees to this community, the fact that the residents in their responses gave such high remarks to the the quality of the responses that they get from our employees, the customer service, the responsiveness, how quickly their issues were resolved. We had a whole series of questions because at the end of the day, we are in the business of public service, and the commitments that we make to the community, are that we are going to be responsive, we're going to be polite, we're going to try to help, residents with whatever issues they bring to us. And the results were very, very rewarding, something that we have shared with employees, because at the end of the day, they are the ones who are out there day in and day out, delivering services, many of which people never even see happen. But when they don't happen or they happen wrong, then they go notice. So, but we really, really appreciate the feedback that we receive from the residents about the quality of the work that our employees are providing, whether they are courteous, whether they are prompt in their responses. All of those kinds of things are very, very important. But we're very happy and pleased with the results.
I was just thinking back to a Coffee with Council session where everybody knew the 560-1200 Durham 1 call number. Now that's impressive.
Absolutely.
Very impressive. Now I know this was a fairly extensive survey and it covered just about every service that the city provides. If our viewers want to see the full report, they can just go to the website.
Right, and we are absolutely committed to transparency in all aspects of the survey. And I'll be the first to say this: we aren't perfect, but we're going to share where we aren't perfect and where we aren't doing as well as where we are. So we're going to, with the survey will be posted on the city website and will be available in its entirety for residents to go in and look at the results, both from a geographic area as well as question by question. I think we asked over 85 questions, something like that, on the survey. So folks can go and look at that. They also can go in and compare the results of this survey to prior years and see where progress is being made. And we really would encourage the residents to take some time and look at the results, give us some feedback. And one of the things that we hear quite often when we talk about the survey is that nobody called me, and that's of course because of the nature of random surveys. Not everybody gets called, but at the same time, if a resident has a concern, has a question about the results of the survey, or they want to just provide us input or some feedback, it's not too late to let us know. It's never too late to let us know.
Good message, good message. Tom, thanks so much for joining me.
Thank you very much.
I look forward to having you back in 2 years.
Well, I think I'll be back and talk about the budget before that.
Okay, all right.
Take care. Thank you.
Tom, thank you. Stay with us because after this short break, we're going to sit down with 2 of the newest members of the Durham City Council. We'll be right back. Welcome back to City Life. I'm Beverly Thompson. Durham City Council has new members, and we're going to get to know both of them just a little bit better and have them give their perspectives on where Durham is now and where they want to see it move forward. Joining me are Councilman Don Moffitt and Councilman Eddie Davis. Thank you both for joining me.
Thank you very much.
Councilman Moffitt, just let us get started with you, and could you just tell us briefly a bit about yourself?
Should be happy to. I moved to Durham in 1992 thinking I'd be here for a year. Fell in love with the community, and I'm planning to be here the rest of my life. I fell in love with my wife here. We got married in 2000, and we have a daughter who is now in 3rd grade over at EK Poe.
Okay.
And it's been a great time here. I used to work for Whole Foods Market. That's what got me here. And now I do consulting work, small business development, and I'm working right now with Durham Central Market, which is a cooperatively owned grocery store that will open in next January.
Okay. Councilman Davis, what about you?
I too came to Durham and fell in love with the city, and like Don, I found a wife here too.
Oh, okay.
But I've been a public school teacher for 37 years, and there are 21 of those years were spent right here at Hillside High School. After that tenure, I went over to Raleigh and worked with the North Carolina Association of Educators, so I actually got a chance to work with educators from all over the state. And then I retired in 2008. Looking for something to do, so I began to work with the public library to do some research around historical figures, particularly women and minorities who had been left out of some of the mainstream issues in Durham. And in doing so, got a chance to read about many people who had done work with the city. So I sort of got the bug about city government, and when I saw that Howard Clement decided that he was not going to seek another term, I began to think that maybe that might be a place for me. So I threw my hat in the ring, and the voters tended to think that maybe I should give it a try.
Great. We're happy to have you. Councilman Moffitt, before you won re-election to the seat, you also served on the Planning Commission, I believe. Durham
Yes.
Planning Commission.
Yeah, that's right.
So you're familiar with Durham, with how city government operates and the issues facing the community. In your opinion, what is the biggest concern you think the city will have to address over the coming years? And how do you propose we address it?
Well, there's a couple of things I think that we need to focus on. The Human Relations Commission, I'm the liaison to the Human Relations Commission, and they're working very hard right now on dealing with a lot of issues that are coming at them around social justice, particularly as it regards the police department. And I think they'll be bringing those recommendations forward probably in the next month. And then we'll have to really dive deep, look hard at their recommendations, and decide, the best way to proceed forward on that. The other thing, of course, is that in Planning Commission work, we've worked a lot around like future land use issues. And one of the big ones that's facing us now is around the transit that's coming. And this relates to the whole issue of poverty in Durham and affordable housing. And we need to be ahead of the curve on planning to make sure that there's a place for everyone around all of our transit stations. That's the long-term look.
What about you, Councilman Davis? I mean, there are a lot of big issues that we're talking about right now as we're talking about the budget. But I mean, what do you see as some of the bigger issues as well?
I've been very pleased to learn about the infrastructure and the way that the city does such a good job of trying to make sure that we deal with all of the things the services that we provide for the citizens. There are typical things like water and sewer, fire and police, solid waste collection, and those kind of things. But I guess I've been so pleased and want to see it continue, and that is the attention to the minute details that our staff puts into their services to the city. I've just been extremely impressed with that, and including the staff that does these cable shows right here. So I'm pleased to be able to work with you and all the other members of the staff on all the issues that face the City Council.
Great. Councilman Moffitt, is there anything that, say, being on City Council, is there anything that has surprised you? Right? Is it everything you expected it to be, or is it a whole lot more work, or what? How do you feel about this?
Well, I've served on a lot of boards, and a lot of boards that worked well. So in that sense, no surprises, right? I know how it's supposed to work. But on the other hand, so it's what I expected, but it's a whole lot more. And one of the things that's been very thrilling to me is just what Councilman Davis was talking about, which is I get a close look at staff, at our facilities, at our advisory boards, the many people who are volunteering their time, and the level of excellence and commitment that I see across the entire city is just very heartening. It's just thrilling, actually, for me.
That's great to hear. Councilman Davis, given what you know now about City Council and about all the work involved and all the good things and some of the more, I guess, intense things, do you wish you'd known this before winning the election? I know that's not a fair question, but what surprised you most?
It's understandable, and I guess no real surprises, because I spent about a year looking at the work of the City Council before I decided to run.
Did your homework.
But you still could not know all the different things. I guess I'm pleasantly surprised that so many citizens actually call and write through email to the members of the council. and pleased to see the structure that we have called Partners Against Crime. We have 5 districts, and these are monthly meetings with citizens across the city of Durham. I knew that those meetings took place, but I didn't know that as many people would actually come and voice their concerns about things, and I didn't know that staff members would be present to answer those questions that are there. And that's particularly true during this budget cycle that we're going through now. There have been lots of people who've come to share their concerns about how the budget should be formulated, but also about the concerns that they have about just regular, ordinary issues of the city, because really everything has a budgetary price tag to it. So all of those things have been important, and I've been pleased that people have been as involved as they have been in that process, and also the advisory commissions that Don referenced a few minutes ago.
Isn't the engagement in Durham just amazing?
Oh, it's just outstanding. And I've seen other cities operate, but I don't think I've seen it done at this level. So I'm just pleased and happy that Durham is leading the way on this kind of involvement.
That's great. You know, in our first segment, we talked about the results of the 2013 Citizen Satisfaction Survey with City Manager Tom Bonfield. What are your thoughts on this overall survey? I'll start with you.
Well, one of the things that I noted is that that the overall satisfaction with the city has gone up. Since they've been doing this, I think it's been since 2005, the overall satisfaction with the city has gone up every year, which I think is great. And that doesn't mean that we're done. It just means that we're headed in the right direction. And the second thing that I've noticed is that one of the things that people really have rated highly is the ease of getting in touch with the city, and I think that's really due to our Durham One Call. I have to put in a plug for that whole process. Actually, you can call one number, and I'm going to give it, 919-560-1200. And if you have any issue with the city, you can call that number, and you can follow up with that, and they will report back and get it to the right department. So I think those are great. Two things that I've noticed that I think require us to continue to pay more attention. One is that people feel less safe now than they did 2 years ago. It's not a lot less safe, but it's the wrong direction, and it's something we just need to focus on.
How do you intend to use this information from the resident satisfaction survey? Is it something that will factor into your deliberations about the budget?
I think so. I'm hoping that we'll take those concerns, and every concern that people have brought up, the negative issues, which are pretty much minimal, but also the positive things that they say. And if we are doing something good, we need to continue to do it and improve upon it. I was pleased to see that people have concerns about issues such as the streets. And that's something that I see that people have a concern about. And they talk to us regularly about their automobiles going across potholes. And we've had a severe winter, so that has increased those potholes. But I see that the city has been responsive. Folks have talked to us a great deal about the Fayetteville Street corridor. And I have been driven here today to watch that. I noticed that our folks have really improved those streets and removed some of those potholes. So I think it's something that people recognize that's important to get the input from citizens and then respond to them. So I think anytime you ask people to tell you how you're doing, you need to be prepared to pat yourself on the back or to get moving to take care of the issues that they bring up.
Exactly. So I have one final question for both of you. What are your closing thoughts just about being on council, about working in Durham and continuing to serve Durham?
Well, I got a couple of things. One is that one of the things that the survey showed is that the strategic plan, people just don't really know about the strategic plan very much. And the city has one, and it does inform a lot of what we do and a lot of our budget decisions. And there's a link for it on the homepage of the city's website down in the bottom right corner, and people should check it out because it not only has the plan, but a whole set of metrics that people can see how we're doing. And I think that's very important. The second thing that I want to close with is that we need the help of a lot of great people from every part of Durham. And the way that people can get involved is through our advisory boards. We have a lot of them, and anybody that wants to check that out can do so at the city clerk's website on the city, durhamnc.gov. And I'll say it's the first step to serving on city council.
Right. Okay. All right.
Well,
Closing thoughts?
I like all the things that Don said. I also
Definitely.
like the fact that there are so many opportunities for accessibility.
Mm-hmm.
These programs that go out several times a month. Also, the fact that they can watch the City Council in action when we meet on the first and third Monday nights. That they can, if they miss it live, they can watch it several other times during the month. But they also can use their computers to go in and
That's right.
access it at any time, and not just the current meetings, but they can go. It's archived, so they can go back and look at council meetings several years in advance. I actually did that myself when I knew that I was going to be sworn in. I went back and looked at the swearing-in ceremonies that had taken place 2-3 years in advance of that.
That's
So I knew which hand to hold up, how to stand, and those kind of things. So I'm glad that our city communications department is doing that. And I just want to close by just thanking all of the staff members for all the great service that they give to us and how they make this city council look good, even if it's old ugly guys like me.
Oh, no. We are so happy to have both of you, and welcome to the city. Welcome to the City Council.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Good to be here.
Thank you. That does it for this edition of City Life. Don't forget to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. And you can also find us on YouTube. I'm Beverly Thompson. Thank you so much for joining me to learn more about City Life in Durham.